Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Debra Frazier Sermons, and today is Wednesday, September the 29th, 2021. And I'm here to interview Mrs. Douglas. Mrs. Douglas, welcome. Thank you for agreeing to this interview. Before we begin, I just want to provide some background. This project, where we are interviewing our seasoned senior citizens of Alachua, is sponsored by the Alachua Newnansville Subcommittee of the Alachua County Truth and Reconciliation Project. We're also partnering with the University of Florida Samuel Proctor Oral History Program, of which persons here are part of that program. We're also partnering with the Alachua Public Library. But we're so thankful to have you here today and have the opportunity to hear your story, you telling it your way about living and growing up and just living here in the Alachua community. Let us begin by you telling us your full name and where you were born.
Okay, my full name is Altamease Douglas. Now, that was not my maiden name, of course.
Okay.
And I was born in West Florida, Madison County, Greensville, Florida.
Okay. How far away is Greensville, Florida from here?
It's probably about 300 miles, I'm guessing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going toward Tallahassee.
Okay. Okay. So northwest. Okay. What were your parents' name?
Well, my mother's name was Maddie Richardson. And I never knew my father. My stepfather's name was Edinburgh Richardson.
And where were they from?
He was from Otter Creek, my stepfather was. And my mother was from Greensville, where I was born.
Okay. How did they come to settle and raise you in the Alachua area?
Okay. I was born in Greensville, as I said. And my mother married my stepfather. And then they brought me to Alachua. I was 5 years old.
Okay. So basically, you were raised here.
I was raised here,
Yes,
from
yes.
5 until now.
Till now, yes, yes. Do you have any siblings?
Oh, only one.
Okay.
One sister. She was born when I was 10 years old, just the two of us.
Okay. Does she reside in the area?
She does now, because she was born here, but when she graduated from high school, she went to college up north, and she never came back here until, I guess, about 6 or 7 years ago.
Oh,
She
okay.
now lives in Gainesville.
All right, all right. And what's your sister's name?
Carrie Cobb. C-A-R-R-I-E, Cobb, C-O-B-B.
Okay, all right, all right. Do you remember anything about your grandparents?
Yes, I do. My grandfather, on my mother's side, I do. My grandfather's name was Lawrence Evans. And my grandmother's name was Callie Evans. And I was born in their house in Greensville. And I stayed there until I was 5 years old, until my mother got married to my stepfather, and he decided to bring me here. Thank the Lord.
Now, you mentioned you didn't know your father. What about your stepfather's parents? Did you have any knowledge of them?
I did not know them, no, because my stepfather was a lot older than my mother, so I never knew his parents.
Okay.
I knew his sisters and brothers, but well, he didn't have any sisters. I knew his brothers, but I didn't know his parents.
Okay. After you all moved here, and as you grew up here, did you have an ongoing relationship with your grandparents back in Greenville?
Yes, I did, until they passed away.
Okay.
That's the reason I came here, I believe, because when my mother married my grandfather, when my mother married my stepfather, I lived with my grandparents, Callie and Lawrence Evans. But my grandfather died. And I'm assuming that my grandmother decided she couldn't take care of me by herself. So that's when my mother and my stepfather came to Greensville and brought me to Alachua.
Okay, okay. So you're staying with your grandmother prior? Okay. You were both grandparents?
Grandparents until I was 5 years old.
Okay, okay, okay. Now, growing up here in Alachua, can you share with us about, you know, what was your early school years like? What elementary school or middle school did you go to?
I loved school. There was no kindergarten for black kids when I came to Alachua. So I stayed, my grandmother, when they brought me here, she didn't go back to Greensville until I was 6 years old. For a year, she stayed here with me for a year because my mother worked.
Okay.
And then when I became 6 years old, I was able to come to school. But when I came to school, the school name was Alachua County Training School back then, which is now Mebane.
Yes.
And so when I came to school here, I was excited, of course, and I thought I was going in first grade. But they put me in second grade. I never was able to complete first grade because they said I knew more than the children that were in first grade. So I made 2 grades in 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would start from second on till I finished high school. And what was your other question?
Now, I was asking you about your early school years, and you just did that. So you did your entire early education at ACT?
Yes, I did.
What was that experience like?
It was wonderful. And maybe it was more wonderful for me because I didn't have siblings. And I didn't like it when school was out, vacation time, because I didn't get to see, interact with my classmates and schoolmates as I wanted to. But I had a wonderful time growing up here, even though, you know, I didn't have siblings and all that, but I had a lot of friends.
Yes.
And I went through elementary school, went through 6th grade, 7th, 8th, 9th grade. And when I got in, and I was into everything. I liked to participate in the choir and whatever was going on. I liked to be in plays. Whatever was going on, I wanted to be in it. And when I became in 10th grade, you know how they decide that you need a queen of the school, you need Miss ACT, Miss whoever. I was chosen.
Awesome.
In 10th grade, I was Miss ACT.
All right.
And I was excited because I rode the float, and you know how that goes.
Yes.
So. And when I was in 11th grade, the football team chose me for the football team sweetheart.
All right.
And I was so excited. You know, we were poor people, but my mother made sure that whatever I needed, that I would have it.
Right.
I remember this yellow evening gown that my mother gave my home economics teacher the money to purchase it for me. They took us to Jacksonville. And I bought this yellow evening gown, and I can see myself even now after all these years on the stage and the football team singing, what? Let me see, we call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. I had a wonderful time growing up.
Awesome, awesome.
But when I finished high school, we were very poor. We didn't have money, so I couldn't go to college. A lot of my friends went to college. Some of them are still my friends because they're still alive. But I was not able to go to college. So the next year, I got married to my children's father. And we had actually 6 children.
Okay.
And they're all just wonderful children. One passed, my oldest child passed away. But the rest of them all of them have master's degrees except one. And that particular one, he retired military. And they've given me grandchildren.
Yes.
Just wonderful grandchildren. I have 2 grandchildren that have PhD degrees. And all the rest of them have college degrees. I'm just a blessed woman.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
And they love their grandmother, Altamease. And I thank God for that.
Total, how many grandchildren do you have?
16.
16? You have any great-grand?
I have 5.
Any great-great?
No.
Okay. That's a blessing.
I'm blessed. I know I am.
That's a blessing.
I don't take it for granted.
You and your husband were married. He's still?
Oh, let me back up.
Okay.
My children's father died at a very early age. He was 37 years old and he had colon cancer. And then I had to raise my children by myself. But it didn't seem, I guess because I'm old now, I think about it, but it didn't seem bad. Because I got a job. Because that father didn't want me to work. But, you know, after he died, I got a job. And I got a job at the first job I got. Well, the first job I got was at Alachua General Hospital for about a year, working in special diets. And after that year was up, I went to Sunland Training Center. And I worked there as a recreation therapy aide for about 4 years. And after that, I went to the University of Florida. And I worked at the University of Florida for about 35 years.
Wow.
Yeah. When I went to the University of Florida, the National Institutes of Health gave the University of Florida a grant because they were concerned about drugs, drug interaction, and all that stuff back then. And then Dr. Clough, who was the chairman of internal medicine, they hired me to work in this project. And they hired me to record all the medications that the patients got on the medical ward. That was the 4th floor at that time. And I had to say how it went into your body, you know, however it went, I had to say that. I had to say the dosage and all of that. And I worked there for, I guess, about 6 months. I guess I don't have to say this, but I'm going to tell you this. One of the pharmacists that worked in the program told me, he said, Alta, I didn't think you were going to be able to do this job. And I couldn't figure out why he said that. But I probably would not have been able to do the job. But I took a chemistry class when I was in 11th grade. I knew nothing about chemistry. Didn't even like it initially. But I began to like it. And then I realized years later, if I had not taken that chemistry class, I would not have been able to do the job. So that's, I don't know if you'll believe this, but that's how the Lord works.
Yes, 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 we do believe.
Okay, okay. I don't want to preach, because but anyway.
But it's your testimony and your story.
Yeah. So that's, you know, I can understand why he thought I wouldn't be able to keep the job, but I was just surprised that he said it.
Yes.
But I worked in that job, and after that was over, I was promoted to a job in the dean's office, College of Medicine. And I was the only black in there. I was the only black a lot of times during my career. But I was treated very well, and I got along well with everybody. After that, I was promoted to the next level of secretary work. I worked for Dr. George Karanasas. I worked for him as his secretary. And I was over the medical clinic because that's what he did. After that, the chairman, Dr. Leighton E. Clough, he was the chairman of internal medicine. He got a job at the Robert Wood Foundation, so he left the University of Florida. But before he left, he hired me as his secretary. And I worked in that job with the next chairman, Dr. McGuigan, until I decided that I had learned everything I needed to learn from this job, and I just wanted to do something else.
Okay.
And at that time, I was 40-something years. I probably should have been satisfied, but I just wanted to try something differently. So I went on interviews. And I was not worried about interviews because I had a job.
Right.
But still, I went on interviews, and I got an opportunity to interview in the sponsored research. And they hired me. But it was a strange interview. I say it was strange because Dr. Randazza was asking me all these questions, and I said, I don't know anything about that. He asked me, he said, but Alta, you can learn. You tell me something, give me something else that I would be responsible for. So I don't know nothing about that, Dr. Randazza, but Alta, you can learn. So they hired me anyway. And I worked there for years until I retired. Mm. And what happened is, I had been there only 6 months, and the woman that was over that department, the Wards Administration Office, her husband had graduated from the University of Florida, and they were moving to Washington. Mm-hmm. So they called me in to interview me to take her place. And I said, well, I just got here. I don't know all I need to know. Mm-hmm. But he said the same thing the other doctor had told me, but you can learn. Mm-hmm. And I was so afraid, because that was a big responsibility to be over awards administration. Right. That's where all, you probably know this, where all the money comes into the University of Florida for research and training and all that stuff. And you had to make sure that everything went well. But I guess pride wouldn't let me refuse the job. Mm-hmm. I took the job, but many days I went in the bathroom and cried. Oh, Lord. But it just turned out well. I worked there for many years, and I got along with everybody. And our department was sponsored research was next door to, what's this other office? I forget this other office, the graduate office. Mm-hmm. And we all got along so well, and we were in Granta Hall. And we all just got along well together. And I enjoyed it until not until, but when I decided it was time for me to retire. And I was 62 years old. And I had decided years prior to that when I became able to retire, mm-hmm. that I wanted to work for the Lord for the rest of my life. Okay. And the people in my department say, Alta, you're going to retire? Everybody like you. And you get along so well. I like them too, but I know what I promised. So I retired, mm-hmm. especially when I went to Human Resources, because I was intending to retire at 65. Okay. But when the lady started explaining all this stuff to me and all the, I could retire at 62 if I wanted, I wouldn't lose that much money, even if I did retire at 62. Right. I didn't have to wait until 65 unless I chose to. And I chose to retire. I retired at 62, and I was able to do what I had promised the Lord I would do. I did a lot of community work. Mm-hmm. I worked in my church. I went to Winn-Dixie and picked up food. Got in my car and I took it to the people in our community that I knew they needed it. Mm-hmm. and I went to Miss Smith's house. That was one of the things I did on a regular basis, because she had, her eyesight was bad.
Okay.
And I would read the word to her.
Mm.
And another lady, I would do the same thing for her, even though she could see. Mm-hmm. She just needed the company. Mm-hmm. And I would pray. I joined the prayer band. The prayer band we had then, we would go from house to house to visit people once a week, especially old people that had no family, or the family didn't have time. We would spend, time with them. And that was just such a joy. We would sing and pray, and we'd have fun, take food. And there was this man that lived in our community. We called him Papa Fat. You can stop me whenever you want, because I just go on and on.
No, we need to hear this story.
This man in our community, we called him Papa Fat. And he and his wife had, after my husband died, I had these 2 little boys, and they needed attention, and I couldn't leave them by themselves. So his wife, beautiful woman, she took them in. I picked them up after I got off from work. I would go and get them. But then she died, and he had an eyesight problem, and he had nobody to look out for him, nobody to cook for him. His wife was a wonderful cook. So I organized some women in our church. I said, Papa Fat needs help. I said, can we get together and decide a day that we could take food to him? And the women were so cooperative. Papa Fat had food every day, because that was a day for everybody.
Right.
And so it was just it's just a blessing. It was just a blessing.
Yes, to be able to give like that.
To do that, yeah, it was just a blessing.
Yes, yes.
And we organized, I'm going to say this, and you can stop me when you get ready. It came to me that we need to do something special for our children in our community. Because back then, it seems like the money that was raised and the scholarships that were given out, it seems like the children in the Monteoka Garden area where we live, they were overlooked. And perhaps it was because their grades were not what they should be. But we felt that even though they may not be making all A's and B's, they need to have a chance to go to college if they want to. So we started the Uniques Women Club 40-some years ago. And we interviewed our children, and we did workshops for them to teach them how to interview and what they should say, encourage them to do well, study. And we have given out so many scholarships that I can't even remember. I have it all written down at home. But every year we gave scholarships. This past year we gave 7 scholarships.
Wow.
But we didn't have the celebration this year like we normally do because of the virus. But we still gave scholarships to the ones that deserved it in our community, and they're doing fine. And we have a long list of young people who received our scholarships and how well they're doing.
That's truly a blessing.
Yes,
that's truly a blessing.
It's such a blessing.
And that is the
Unique Women Club Incorporated.
Women Club, okay. And the Unique Women's Club Incorporated, is it just the Monteoka Gordon area, or has it expanded over the years?
Well, it is just the women are the women of our community.
Okay.
But our gifts have expanded beyond our community.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And when you mentioned growing up in Alachua, how did you get from Alachua to the Monteoka Gordon area?
That's when I married my children's father.
Okay, you all moved there.
And that's about 7 miles, maybe not that far. Yeah. because my address is Brooker, but actually I live in Alachua County. I live on 235,
Yes.
State Road 235.
Yes.
Yeah, and I have to always remind people of that when I'm doing business. I say, this is my address, but I pay taxes in Alachua County.
Yes, yes. I understand. Now, raising your children, and even when your husband was alive, did you all go to church?
Oh, yes. We've always gone to church. Now, my husband, the husband, I don't even think I told you about my second husband. But anyway, my children's father, he was not a church person. But I went and I took the children. I taught Sunday school. I sang in the choir. You know, I did whatever I was led to do. And they had to go where they wanted to go or not, because that was just the rule.
I remember that.
Yeah.
You went, you weren't asked.
Oh, no, that's just what you did, because that was expected of you.
Yes.
You had to go.
And you said there was a second husband?
Yes. I told you my children's father passed away.
Yes.
And I met this man. His name was Nathaniel Douglas. Because prior to the Douglas name, my name was Walker.
Okay.
That's what my children's name. His name was Nathaniel Douglas. And I met him, and it was the kind of strange because he called me one day. Well, I wasn't interested in getting married because I had these children, and I didn't know how that would work. I had teenage boys, and so I wanted a husband, but I just wasn't interested in getting married while I had children at home.
Right.
And and after all my children finished high school, finished college, and was on their own, I started praying for a husband.
Okay.
And this man called me, Nathaniel Douglas, on the telephone one day. And he said, I'm Nathaniel Douglas. And he said, the Lord has told me that you're going to be my wife. And I was in the dining room, and I just bopped down in the chair in the dining room because it's so shocking.
Yes.
He said, I'm not going to worry you, not going to pester you, but I just want you to know you're going to be my wife. I don't know if that was psychology or what it was.
But it worked.
But it worked. It worked. We were married 26 years until he died.
Wow.
And he died September the 23rd. This September passed a year ago.
Wow.
And it was a beautiful relationship. Because I also was praying for a husband.
Yes.
And I told God what I wanted. I didn't ask for no good-looking man, even though he was a good-looking man. That was not on my agenda. I wanted a man that loved the Lord.
Yes.
I wanted a man that was saved. I wanted a man that did not have a living wife, no divorcee. You know, God gave me just what I asked for.
Amen.
And we had a beautiful time together. A beautiful time together. And I thank God for that every day. Thank God. Even though he's gone, he died a year ago. And it was quite an adjustment. But, you know, we know we're not going to stay here forever. So you need to make good of the time that you have.
That's true. That's true.
So where can I go from here?
Mrs. Douglas, before you change, I'm curious. He called you up on the phone. How long after that phone call did you all get married?
A year and a half, 2 years.
Okay. Okay, so there was a dating courtship time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Just about 2 years.
I can imagine you sitting down after receiving that type of
It
phone
was so
call.
shocking.
Yes. But apparently it was divine.
Yeah, but
26
I
years.
didn't know about too much about it. Back then. I was just kind of nervous.
Yes, yes. You didn't know where he got your phone number
No,
from. I understand.
yeah.
But with you and Mr. Douglas, you all attended church regularly?
When he lived in Hawthorne,
Okay.
and he worked at Hawthorne High School. And he was kind of like a counselor, even though he took care of the floors and all that kind of stuff. But it was doing integration. And they chose him to be a counselor. Because the white kids and the black children fighting and all that kind of stuff. And he was very good at handling that. And he did a very good job because if we used to eat out a lot. And I don't care where we went, somebody gonna say, "Hey, Mr. Douglas, you remember, you kept me out of jail. If it wasn't for you, no telling where I'd have been." I'm standing there listening. And that was every time we went somewhere. Somebody would come up and thank him for being involved in their lives when they were in high school. So,
What a blessing, what a testament.
It was a blessing, yes.
You mentioned with the variety of things you shared already, I have a lot of questions.
Okay.
But you mentioned going a little bit back to your time at ACT. You said you were involved in a lot of things. Of all those things you were involved in, the choir, drama, all of that, what did you really love the most?
I love the choir. And I love to sing even to this day. I love the choir. And I loved, actually, I don't know if it's so strange or not, because they ask you when you graduate from high school what you're going to do. And I wanted to be an interior designer. That's what I put in my book. Because I loved beautiful things. I love beautiful homes, and I love beautiful clothes. I like the matchups. I still like that, even at this age. But that was not something I could do because we didn't have any money for me to go to college. So, but still, right now, I'm interested in it because I care how my house looks.
Yes.
And I have to be quiet when I go to my daughter's house in case they're not doing what I think they should. I have to make sure I fold my lips because that's their house. But I guess that's just in me. It's just part of what I like to do.
That was your heart's desire
Yeah,
and love,
it was.
and it's something that you could still do, which you mentioned in your own home. With all your years working at the University of Florida, you talked about how well that went and how you got along. What were some of but you also mentioned it was a time when you would go in the bathroom and cry.
Yes, initially, yes.
What was that about?
It was because I've always been used to learning something quickly and being able to, I was not used to being not knowing, not understanding. And that was so hard for me. That was just difficult for me. Nobody else was worrying me about it. My bosses and my supervisors, they weren't worried. I was worried myself about it. But I got over it because I started learning my job and understanding what I'm supposed to be doing. And at the university we would have workshops and with the research professors, because we want to make sure they knew what the rules and regulations were from NS, National Science Foundation, whoever was giving them money.
Right.
And so we would have to go down on campus and set up workshops. And me and all the people who were, because we had a woman that was head of awards administration. I was head of awards administration. She was in charge of proposal processing. And my girlfriend Dorothy, she was a human resource person. So we would set up for workshops down on campus, and so the people could come. And each of us would have to stand up and explain the rules and regulations of the people who gave us the money, and give them an opportunity to ask questions, the professors, if they needed to. Because sometimes those professors would say what I felt, say what they needed to say to get the money. But when the money came, they wanted to do what they wanted to do. And so, that couldn't work.
Right.
Because they felt like it was their money, and it was, because they did the proposal. But the agency said it's the University of Florida's money.
Right.
And the agency held the University of Florida responsible. So we wanted to make sure that they knew that. We wanted to make sure that they knew they had to follow the rules. Make sure that they knew that even if you needed to change, because sometimes you need to change, just because you ask for something in your proposal, things change. But you're going to have to go to the agency and get approval. So that was what we were supposed to do. Because we didn't want the contract or the grant to be taken back from the University of Florida because they weren't doing what they were supposed to do.
Right, right. That was a lot of responsibility.
It is. But I had some fine people working for me. I had 6 people working in my office.
Wow.
1 man, all women.
Wow.
And they did a fine job.
Not only did they do a fine job, you did too. Because as you were telling your story, is that I would get promoted, I would get promoted.
Yeah.
They saw something in you and they were willing to give you more responsibility. And as you succeeded, you kept saying, yeah, I get promoted.
Yes, and my people that worked in my office, we got along so well. We got along really well. You know, they would, when the money was, the award letter came, they would have to release it, do the worksheet and release it into the universities so that the PIs could spend the money. Mm-hmm. But when every proposal, every award that they release, mm-hmm. they have to do the worksheet and it would have to come to me. It could not go down to Dr. Walsh or Dr. Price mm-hmm. for signature until I reviewed it. Right. And then there were times when they would make mistakes, because we all make mistakes.
Right.
But when they would make mistakes and I reviewed and I see the mistake, I would say, John, I have reviewed this and I just can't come up with the same answer. I said, maybe I'm just tired today. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wasn't tired, but I was not going to hurt his feelings.
Right.
I said, would you review this again for me, please? And he said, oh, Alta, yeah, I made a mistake, Alta. He said, thank you. I said, well, I appreciate you. But I would never make them feel like they were stupid, because everybody makes mistakes. So, you know, you have to know how to treat people.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very important. That's very important. Now, you were still working while you were raising your kids by yourself, mm-hmm. and then you were working while you were with your second husband, mm-hmm. Mr. Douglas. Mm-hmm. But you also said that the children were gone.
Yes, my children were gone when I married my second husband. Mm-hmm. You know, they had finished college, they had gotten their own place, some of them had gotten married, you know, they were no longer living at home.
Okay.
I was just home by myself.
So in addition to the church work, did you all have any hobbies? Did you all vacation and take any special trips?
Yes, we did. Me and my second husband especially. Mm-hmm. We were always going somewhere.
Okay.
Because, see, I had never had an opportunity to do that. Mm-hmm. Because we was raising children. We didn't have the money to be doing all that. Right. But by the time I got married to my second husband, we didn't have a lot of responsibility, just us. Mm-hmm. So we'd go on vacations, and we'd take trips, and we ate out a lot. We just did what we wanted to do.
Okay.
Yeah, did what we wanted to do.
Now, let's transition a bit. You mentioned that when you were at the University of Florida, how your first job, mm-hmm. how well you did, and you attributed it all to that one chemistry class
yes.
that you took. Who knew that God would use that one chemistry class to make a way? It was like an opening for you.
Well, I know that now, but I didn't know it then.
Yes, yes. Have there been other things like that in your life where opportunities came your way, or you were blessed in a special way, and then you look back and see where it all started, just like that one chemistry class?
From the very beginning now. Mm-hmm. Now. Just something, just a simple something happened Monday. I had a doctor's appointment. I forgot all about the doctor's appointment. And when the lady called me to remind me of it, I looked on my calendar, sure, there it was. Mm-hmm. But my club's president, the president of the Unix Women Club, had called me earlier mm-hmm. and said that the club sisters are going to meet Monday at 2 o'clock. Well, the doctor's appointment was at 3:30 that same day, and that just couldn't work. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to meet with my sisters because we don't get a chance to be together with all this virus like we used to.
Right.
But I said, well, I guess I just can't be with them. You know what happened? You know what the Lord did?
What?
The nurse, the secretary at the doctor's office called me. This was Monday. She said, Ms. Douglas, I'm so sorry. Dr. Smith will not be able to see you today because she's not here. And I started laughing. I said, praise the Lord. She probably thought I was crazy. I said, and I had to explain because I know she wouldn't have ever understood what I was saying, praise the Lord, for about something like that. And I just had to tell her the story.
Yes.
And you know, I don't want to preach no sermon, y'all, but I'm just telling you, I have lots of things I can say what God has done for me. And it was obvious that he did it. Dr. Walsh called me. He was our director of sponsored research. And he said, Alta, I'm supposed to go to the National Science Foundation next week. And he said, I'm not going to be able to go. He said, I want you to go and represent the University of Florida for me. I said, oh my Lord, I didn't say that, but I was thinking it. And I just felt like that was such a wonderful opportunity. You know, we were flying all over the United States, me and the sponsored research people, together in hotels. We had to do that. But Dr. Walsh asked me to go to represent the University of Florida in his place. I never forgot that.
What an honor.
I thought that was an honor. And I went to the National Science Foundation. I did what I was supposed to do. And, you know, I was treated well. I was treated well. And I'm just so grateful.
Yes.
I was treated well. I was paid well. I just, you know, I just don't take it for granted.
Yes. Now, of all the jobs that you've had, which one was the most satisfying and why?
Well, when I worked at Sunland Training Center, now called Taka Charlie, my first job there was as a college parent. But for some reason, I only worked as a college parent for about 6 months. And they had me, what's the woman's name? I forget her name. I'll think of it in a minute. She wanted me to be a college trainer. And I worked with little children, the smallest children. That was the baby ward. And so she said those children need to learn how to do things that most children just know how to do. They've taught that, but they need to learn how to brush their teeth, take a bath, color, whatever, you know, little children need to learn. And so I was glad for the job. One reason was because I didn't have to work on the weekends. And that was a blessing.
Yes.
Because I didn't have a car of my own back then. And I just fell in love with those children. You know, because they didn't have parents. Only just a few of them had parents to come to visit them. They didn't even know that parents existed, I guess, their own. Because they called me Mama Walker.
Okay.
My name was Walker back then. And I treated them as if they were my own children. I had some that were we call them mongoloids, but what's the other word for mongoloid? That's not the proper name for them. But there was all kinds. Some of them couldn't walk. Some couldn't talk. Just all kinds of situations they were experiencing. But I'm just, I look back on that and I said, Lord, I know why you blessed me. Because I treated them as if they were my own. Yeah. You know, I would have my class in the dining room. And when our class was over, I would bring them back to the playroom. And when I would get in the playroom, these little children would just, Mom Walker, can I have some water? These weren't mine now. I worried about them. These are children who were not in the class. I said, well, why didn't you ask your mama? I said, go ask your mama for some water, whatever you want. They would go back and sit down because they were afraid of that wet diaper popping them.
Wow.
All kind of things went on. But they knew that I would not do that to them. And time I walked in, I said, come on, boy, let me give you some water. Let me give you whatever it is that you want, you know. Because they know I wasn't going to hit them.
Yes.
I was not going to mistreat them. And you know, God gave me 6 beautiful, normal children. And when I was carrying my children, it never occurred to me that they could be anything but normal, because I'd never seen children like that before. You know, I'd never been in an institution like that before. And when I went there to be interviewed, I almost wanted, they showed us around, I almost wanted to go home, but I needed a job.
Right.
I needed a job where I could get retirement and everything that you get when you have a state or a county job.
Right.
And I'm so glad I stayed.
Yes.
So.
You received the benefits, but you were able to give love and care and
Yes, I
training
did.
to those that was there.
Yes, I did.
For those who may be viewing this interview, Sunnyland Training Center.
It's now Choctaw Charlie now. That's the new name for it.
Okay, and this provides housing and education for children who are handicapped of some form. Okay.
They're not only handicapped, they're retarded too.
Okay.
They have mental problems.
All right. You know, you mentioned that you're currently involved in the, and you have been for a while, in the Unique Women's Club. Are you involved in any other community organizations?
No, I used to be over the women group in our church,
Okay.
but the United Methodist Women.
Okay.
But now I'm not involved in a whole lot of things. And that's because of my health.
Okay.
And, you know, I just can't do what I used to do.
I understand.
But I still do what I can do.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. I understand. You know, with your children and grandchildren, how has that impacted you?
It has impacted me greatly. My children have a great respect for me. They don't say that, but I see that. Yeah. And even my boys, even my sons, you know, and my grandchildren. Whenever we have, because we're a family that like to celebrate.
Yes.
And we did that all the time for everything. If somebody made good grades, we celebrate. You know, whatever they do, we celebrate it. And we come together. My daughter, one of my daughter's husbands worked out of town. He taught school in one of them counters up there near Tallahassee. And it was funny because he would call and he said, well, honey, I'm coming home, because he'd come home every weekend. What are we celebrating? I need to know, so I need to know how to dress, you know. He said, y'all some celebrating people. But we just do that because we want our children to know that grandchildren know we love them and we expect them to do well.
Right.
And we want them to know that you can do well. So that's just something we practice.
So the celebration was just a reinforcement of that.
Yes. You know, it might be good grades. It might be one of my sons. He was a good basketball player. Whatever they were blessed to do, we showed our appreciation.
Awesome.
And we still do that. We just can't get together like we used to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, throughout your lifetime, can you share what have been some of the most challenging, difficult times for you?
Challenging. The most challenging thing, difficult times, I think, is when my children's father died. He died with cancer of the colon, 37 years old. And when he died, I was pregnant. And we had his funeral on a Saturday. And our son was born that Sunday.
Wow.
And that was difficult. That was difficult. And I don't know that I had a proper time to mourn, because I had this baby and all these other children to take care of. And maybe that was a good thing, you know, because I was busy.
Yes.
I was busy. But, you know, God knows. He knows. You know. I think that was probably the most challenging. Because taking care of them, all these children, was not was not all that challenging. Because when their father died, every one of them got money from the government. Social Security, you know, we didn't have a financial problem.
Okay.
And when their father died, our house was paid for. So we didn't have a lot of financial problems. But just having all this all by yourself,
Yes.
I had to learn how to deal with that.
Yes.
And it worked out.
Thank
I
you.
sat my sons down, because they were told, see, your dad is gone. But our rules haven't changed. We have to live by the same rules. He's not here. And they were, you know, my son didn't give me a whole lot of trouble, thank the Lord. Yeah. So.
That's a blessing.
Yes, it is.
That's a blessing.
Yes, it is.
Now, when you mentioned earlier about your family loving to get together and also you missing the opportunities to get together with your fellow friends with the women's group, how has COVID impacted the celebrations and the get-togethers with the women in the group?
It has greatly. It's just we just don't get, well, last month we had our first meeting. And last week, Monday, our second meeting, all this time, all these 2 years. We talk on the telephone, we continue to pay our dues, and our president, you know, we correspond over the telephone.
Okay.
But we haven't been able to get together. But we've started that 2 months ago, last month and this month.
Okay.
We come in with our masks on just like we are, you know, just like now. We set a great distance from one another. We try to follow the rules, yeah.
Okay. Were you all able to distribute scholarships during the time?
Oh, yes. We give scholarships every year. We never stop giving scholarships because of the virus.
Good.
But when we give scholarships, we always had a celebration.
Yes.
We would have a feast, and we would have the children who we were giving scholarships to come, and their parents, and whoever else they wanted to bring. And we have a big celebration. We have a speaker, and give the children and young men and women an opportunity to say whatever was on their hearts. It was a big celebration. But we didn't do that this year. Hopefully, depends upon this virus, next year we can go back to what we've always done. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah. But the children got their money, and they're going to school.
Good. Has COVID affected your family, especially with you all having this tradition of celebrations?
We have not had anybody in our family to have COVID.
Good. That's a blessing.
That's just a blessing from the Lord.
Yes.
Nobody. And when I see my son coming, I grab my mask. You know, when they come into my house.
Yes.
You know. But I have one son don't like it. None of us like it. I don't like this thing. You think I like this? No, I don't like it.
Yes.
I'm not doing this because I like it. I'm just trying to be careful and trying to protect myself and protect other people.
Yes.
We don't like this, but when we get together, we have masks.
Okay.
We wear masks.
So it really hasn't stopped your celebrations?
Oh, no, it has not stopped our celebration.
Okay.
The only thing is that we just don't have the big gatherings that we used to have. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to shift a little. What do you think about the current political climate in the United States right now?
In the United States, I think it's terrible. And the reason I think it's terrible is probably, I don't know who would agree with this. And you don't have to, because we all have our own opinion. We have the Democrats, and we have the Republicans, and a few independents. And it just grieves my spirit to see how they won't work together. If a Democrat come up with a wonderful idea, it's terrible when the other party can't agree with it. We should be able to agree if something wonderful is being thrown out there that's going to benefit everybody. But just because I'm not a Republican, just because I'm not a Democrat, I'm not going to go along. I can't vote. I can't agree with you. I just think that's terrible.
Yes.
You know, we ought to be bold and stand up for what is right, no matter who brings it up.
Right.
But I don't know.
How did you respond? What did it mean to you, the election of President Barack Obama?
I was very thankful. And one reason, because he was a black man, and we had never had a black president. And I was excited. But there were things that he approved of that I simply don't agree with. But then nobody agrees with everything. You know, you don't agree with everything. Because when he believes in I don't know if he believes in it or not, but I don't believe in abortion. I don't believe in murder. But you know, and I'm sure there are other things that I just can't think off the top of my head that he might have gone along with. I don't believe in that. You know, rather than abort a baby, there are people who can't have babies.
Yes.
We love to adopt a child.
Yes.
We love to have an opportunity to show love to a child. But that's just how I feel. Yeah. But, so you know, I don't care who they put up there. I don't think I'd probably agree with everything.
Okay.
So you just have to try to figure out what to do and who to vote for and who to stand for.
Exactly. What do you feel about the former President Donald Trump?
You don't ask me that, please.
Okay.
I think he needs to be saved.
Okay.
I just put it like that. He
Okay.
needs Jesus.
Okay.
He needs
All right.
Jesus. And you know what? Do you know I pray for the man every day?
Yes.
I sure do.
I do too.
Because I said, now God, you love him. He might be doing some stupid stuff and things I don't understand and don't agree with, but I have to remember, God, that you love him. And if you, in all your perfection, love him, who am I in my imperfection? So help me to love this man. Not to agree with his craziness, but to love him and wish him well. So that's just how I feel.
Thank you for sharing that. What are your thoughts on the Black Lives Movement?
Well, I think it's kind of sad that we have to put a lot of emphasis on it. But I think we need to do that because of the situation. I think we should understand and believe and want to support the life of all people. Because God made us all. And we are all precious in his sight. I don't care if you're homeless, I don't care if you're barefooted, I don't care if you're in jail. We need to love all people and try to help all people as best we can. And if that were the case, I don't even think you would have to say Black Lives Matter. If that's how we feel and that's how the world felt. It should have nothing to do with race. It should have nothing to do with race. Because God loves us all.
Right.
And that's what, and it's not easy to love people who are mean to you, but you can do that. And I don't want to preach, but I'm just going to tell you, if you want to love somebody that's mean to you and mean to your children, you got to ask for help from the Holy Spirit.
Yes, you do.
Because you can't do it on your own.
Exactly. Do you see any similarities between the Black Lives Movement, Black Lives Matters movement, and the Civil Rights movement under Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King?
Do I see any what now?
Similarities.
Oh, yeah, I do. I do.
Share some of them with us.
Yeah, I think that was the beginning of it. Dr. Martin Luther King. And, you know, if he hadn't started it, I don't know where we would be. And some of the things that have happened, some good things have happened because he started it. And then there were those who came behind him to continue this, you know. We need that. Because there are people who still want to hold us back and want us to scrub floors. And there's nothing wrong with scrubbing floors if that's what you want to do. But you should not be limited to that because you don't have a chance. You should have a chance to do whatever it is that you want to do with your life. And if that's going to be a problem, we need the black movement, whatever kind of movement, to move people forward and give them an opportunity to do what they need to fulfill their life.
Right.
So, you know, and it's not, and people say, white people hate us. I don't really believe white people hate us. I'm just telling you what I think. I think they're afraid. Because there are people who feel like they have to be in charge and they have to be above, and they consider themselves beneath if they are not where they think they ought to be. But that's not the case. It's an opportunity in this world for all of us to be developed and to be what God wanted us to be.
Right.
Because he said in his word, I knew you before you were conceived in your mother's womb. And I had a plan for your life.
Yes.
And just because he has a plan for my life, it does not mean your plan can't be fulfilled.
Yes.
That's for all of us.
Yes.
None of us have to be shortchanged. All of us have different gifts.
Yes.
None of us, we're not all alike.
No.
But we are all special in his sight.
Yes. I definitely agree with you on that. Definitely agree with you. During your time growing up here in Alachua and living in Alachua County, what are some significant instances of racial injustice, other type of injustices that you either witness, experience, or know of?
Okay. When we were going to school, and we lived 3 miles from Alachua. We lived out near Burners Lake. And we would walk to school. We walked to school in the morning. We walked back home in the evening. And the white children on the big yellow bus passed by, pick at us. Pick at us because we were walking. They were riding the big, I don't know if the buses were air conditioned, probably weren't air conditioned, but they were on the buses. And it was years before we were able to do that. And even when we were able to do that, I think I was in 11th grade, I believe, they gave us those old buses that was about to fall apart. You know, so we never had the, well, I don't say never, but during my time, we never had the nice buses to ride. And I know when we had a Thick Pen drugstore, you know, here on Alachua then. If I went into Thick Pen drugstore and I stood here and I ordered a Coke or whatever I was wanting to order, and some white kids came behind me, they were moved up ahead of me, no matter how long I had stood there. They were waited on first. So that, you know, it's just a lot of crazy stuff went on.
So that was race discrimination
it was
and
race
also
discrimination.
age.
Yes, race discrimination.
Okay.
But you know, we lived in a community out in Burners Lake. There were far more white people than there were black. And my mother had a lot of white friends. And I say that because they were nice to us. You know, even when my sister came along, when she would go home from school, if she chose not to go home from school, she stayed at Miss Pruitt's house. She was a white lady that lived near us. She'd watch Miss Pruitt television, because Mama didn't have no television. When I was growing up, we didn't have electricity the whole year I was growing up. No electricity. And Mama didn't have none. She got some after I left, when my sister was there. But it's so much we didn't have. But there were people in our community, white people in our community, that cared about us. Because Miss what's the woman's name? Miss Cruz. Miss Cruz would bring my mama, because I was married by then. Miss Cruz lived near my mother. And she would bring my sister and my mother to my house out in Brooklyn where we lived, and let my mama visit as long as she wanted to.
That was nice.
She would never come in, but she would sit in her car and wait on my mama.
That was very nice of her.
I mean, we had nice friends. So I can't say that I was really mistreated by white people when I was growing up. I don't know how it would have been if I had been a man or boy, but I can't say that because I know I wasn't able to. I wanted a job because I always wanted to make some money. And the president of the bank, his name was, at that time, was named Emory Williams. And he and his wife, Bonnie Jean, they had one daughter, Gloria. And being the president of the bank and one child, Gloria had so many beautiful clothes. I was tall and slim, just like Gloria. Whatever they bought Gloria for school this year, next year she'd get new and I would get her clothes. When I went to school, I always looked nice.
Which went along with you being Miss ACT
I guess
and
so.
a football team queen.
Not because we had money, because we didn't have no money.
Yes, yes, yes. But it's almost like God prepared it,
He
that
did.
when you
He
needed
just
it, you
blessed
had
me.
it.
And they were nice clothes.
Yes.
Can you imagine the banker buying his daughter?
Yes, the very best.
Gave them to me.
Yes, yes. And this is the bank here in Alachua, First National Bank?
First National Bank. Emory Williams was his name at the time.
Wow.
They're both going to be with the Lord now, of course, but you know.
God has been very good to you.
Yes, he has.
Yes,
He has. And I'm just glad I learned who to give the glory to, who give, you know.
Amen, amen, amen.
Yes.
Amen. One last question. Do you participate in politics in terms of, do you vote?
Oh, yes.
Each election?
Definitely, I vote every year.
Okay.
I can't ever remember missing a time to vote since I started.
Awesome.
You know, I vote, yeah.
Awesome. So you stay involved in that?
Yes, I do.
Watching the news?
I watch the news, so sometimes I wish I hadn't watched it.
I think we all can relate to that.
But I still watch it. I still want to know what's going on, so I watch it every day.
Yes, yes. Is there, I know I asked you a lot of questions and you've shared a lot with us, and thank you for that. But is there anything that I didn't ask that you would like to share?
I really can't think because I talk so much sometimes. I'm just glad to have an opportunity to share. And I'm glad I'm able to say I know about segregation and all that stuff. But when I was growing up, I was treated kindly by my white neighbors. You know, when I went to Miss Chambers' house, she never told me to come to the back door. When I went to Miss Carthen's house, I was never told to go to the back door. Miss Williams, they never treated me differently. I didn't think anything about it then, but you know, since all this stuff come up, I said,
Right.
I was never treated that way. We were always treated well. Maybe because we weren't no competition. I don't know. We didn't have nothing, so I don't know.
But that in and of itself is an additional blessing too.
Yes, yes, yes.
No question. All right. Well, we're so thankful for this time for you to share. And we just want to say thank you. This is an opportunity for you to tell about your experiences, your reality, your way, your voice. You said you're preaching, but you know what? You're telling your story.
Yeah.
It's a testimony to how God has been good to you and what your life was like. And it's also, by videotaping this, be an opportunity, a source of legacy to your grandchildren, it will go on, where they will get to hear your voice, your story, and you telling it your way. And we're just so thankful you were able to share that with us. The jars behind you represent, that's our way of commemorating those who, because of racial injustice, died in the Alachua area, specifically the Alachua Newnansville area. So we have that in the background too. But it's, if they were alive, if they had an opportunity, they'd be glad to hear your story as to how things have changed and how your life was lived differently. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.